The day before Alistair Vance and I were supposed to get married, I received his nude model's pregnancy test results. Everyone in our circle knew that Alistair Vance had an exclusive nude model, Chloe Davis. They would create art every night until 3 in the morning, claiming inspiration struck strongest at night. I protested, but he furiously threw down his paintbrush and cursed me, calling me dirty. Don't taint art with your jealous, petty mind. It wasn't until Chloe Davis slapped the pregnancy test results on my face and declared, "Mr. Vance's baby." Alistair Vance tugged at his tie, his tone self-righteous. Men are like that. That night I drank a bit too much and painted too late. Things just got out of hand. She's pregnant and can't handle it alone right now. If you can accept this child, we'll get married as soon as she gives birth. Then he pinched my chin, adding insult to injury. You should be glad your man is fully functional. I burst out laughing, tears streaming down my face. Just then, my phone rang. Ethan Hayes, my childhood friend who had secretly loved me for 10 years, roared, "Sarah, I'm a fool for loving you, but if you dare to get married tomorrow, I'll go straight to City Hall and stop the wedding." I chuckled softly into the phone. "All right, I'll be waiting for you to stop the wedding." Then I put the pregnancy test results back into Alistair Vance's pocket. "I wish you both pleasant art." Ethan Hayes looked at the marriage certificate in his hand, a smile he couldn't quite suppress playing on his lips, though he pretended to be reluctant. "What do you take me for? Only I'm generous enough to go along with your whims and not care about any of this." I gave him a dismissive glance. "If you feel forced, you can go back in and get a divorce before we leave." "Oh, come on, why can't you take a joke? So, where should we go for our honeymoon next?" Just as he spoke, Alistair Vance called. "What's with the tantrum? Chloe is young and pregnant. Aunt, can't you be more understanding? We can talk about this, it's not like I'm not marrying you. She's crying hysterically right now. Come over and apologize to her. We can still discuss our wedding." I rolled my eyes. "Are you out of your mind? Do you think I'm that desperate to marry you?" With that, I hung up. Ethan Hayes, meanwhile, was chuckling to himself. I shot him an annoyed look and turned to leave, but he immediately pulled me back. "Are you really going back? We just got married, and you're already abandoning your husband?" I explained, exasperated. "Ethan, I'm standing here with nothing. All my stuff is at home. I need to go get it." Ethan Hayes dutifully drove me home, warning me as he left, "Don't waste any more words on that man. You might regret it later." I didn't reply, walking straight into the house. Looking at the home I had meticulously designed, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. I had originally intended this to be Alistair Vance's and my marital house, but it seemed it wouldn't be needed now. I quickly packed some clothes and then found a sketchbook on the nightstand I'd never seen before. The first few pages contained drawings Alistair Vance had done for me when we first started dating. The following pages were entirely nude sketches of Chloe Davis, some even depicting her in intimate moments in bed. He used to say he would only paint for me. Thinking about it now, it was truly laughable. Infuriated, I clenched my fists and decisively tore out the first few pages with my drawings. After a moment's thought, I put the sketchbook into my bag. Alistair Vance's and Chloe Davis's voices echoed from outside. "Alistair, Sarah isn't really going to break off the wedding because of me, is she? I'd feel terrible. I should have known better than to tell you about the baby. I should have just gone to the hospital and had it taken care of myself, to avoid causing trouble for you too." Alistair Vance, angry and feeling sorry for her, pulled her into a hug. "Foolish girl, how could we get rid of our baby? She's being unreasonable, it has nothing to do with you. You're so considerate, it makes me feel sorry for you." Chloe Davis leaned into his embrace, content. "So, you still can't bear to let Sarah go, do you still love her?" "Love?" Alistair Vance scoffed. "She was the one who shamelessly pursued me back then. Otherwise, how could an artist like me be interested in someone so common? It's just that my art exhibition still needs the night's investment. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother trying to win her over." I stood rooted to the spot, tears streaming down my face. So, he was only interested in my family's money. After wiping my tears, I had a change of heart. I would just consider those 5 years of my life and feelings thrown away on a dog. Pushing open the bedroom door, I saw Chloe Davis holding the art supplies I had personally made for Alistair Vance years ago. "Alistair, these art supplies are so exquisite." Alistair Vance didn't even glance at them, just smiled and stroked her head. "If you like them, take them. They'll be perfect for prenatal education." Chloe Davis shyly lowered her head. "With your artistic talent, our child is sure to be brilliant." Alistair Vance looked proud. "Of course. How could a child of Alistair Vance be anything less?" I couldn't stand to listen anymore and walked out, carrying my luggage. Alistair Vance looked surprised. You're home? Didn't you say you were cutting ties with me? And now you've secretly come back? If I'd known, you could have just apologized back then, and everything would have been fine. I scoffed dismissively. What nerve? I just came back to pick up some things. Now, I'm officially telling you, we are completely over. Chloe Davis stepped forward and grabbed me. Sarah, don't be upset because of me. I'll leave right now, just don't go. I looked at her feigned sincerity, losing what little patience I had left. Let go. She shook her head pitifully. I ignored her and walked away with my suitcase. I had barely taken a step when Chloe Davis shrieked and recoiled backward. By the time I turned around, Alistair Vance had already caught her steadily. Do you have a heart? Chloe is pregnant, and you're being so forceful on purpose, aren't you? Can you really not tolerate her? Chloe was so upset when she found out you were breaking up with me that she didn't even eat dinner. She's been so understanding, and you're still so aggressive. Chloe Davis looked at me triumphantly. I disdainfully brushed off my sleeve. Stop playing these games. If you love her so much, I'll just give her to you. As I left, Chloe Davis even pleaded for me. Alistair, quickly stop Sarah. Alistair Vance scoffed dismissively. Don't worry, she's just throwing a tantrum. She used to be a leech, impossible to get rid of, so why would she leave now? I heard him but didn't respond. I pushed open the door and saw Ethan Hayes standing outside. Took you long enough? Yeah, let's go. Ethan Hayes insisted I stay at his house, but I chose to temporarily stay in a rental apartment. Over the past 2 days, Alistair Vance's social media updates had been frequent. They were all records of Chloe Davis's every move and word. Chloe sleeps so much, doesn't she? Cooked personally to coax Chloe into eating. Seeing these, my heart still trembled uncontrollably. Alistair Vance once said his hands were meant for painting. How could he possibly enter a kitchen? For him, I had cooked for 5 years. Now, he was willing to stay in the kitchen just to coax Chloe Davis to eat a single bite. Next, I received a bill. Crib $50,000, master bedroom jacuzzi tub $100,000. I frowned in confusion. I hadn't expected them to be so shameless. Then I suddenly remembered that I had also bought this house. If anyone should leave, it should be them. So I decided to sell the house, but the relevant documents were still there. I had no choice but to go back to that place. As soon as I entered, I felt that the interior was completely different. All the areas I had meticulously designed had been altered. Near the entrance, where the trash was kept, was a pile of my old belongings. Chloe Davis stood on the second floor, looking down at me and explaining. Alistair asked for those to be thrown away. He said those dirty things would affect the baby's development. I gave a speechless laugh. Is Sarah back for Alistair? I'll call him out. I didn't speak, just looked up at her and went up the stairs. Once upstairs, I still didn't look at her, walking straight to the room to find what I needed. As I entered, I saw the throw blanket my mother had knitted for me before she passed away spread on the floor. I had left in such a hurry last time that I'd forgotten it. Chloe Davis walked in, instinctively stepping on it. I yelled in anger, "Get off it!" Chloe Davis recoiled a few steps, startled. I quickly picked up the throw blanket. Who told you to use it as a rug? Chloe Davis was flustered. Sarah, I didn't know. Alistair saw me often walking barefoot on the floor and said I'd catch a cold, so he spread this on the ground. I didn't know it was yours. Alistair Vance entered and immediately put his arm around her. What trouble are you causing now? I saw this throw blanket was soft and gave it to Chloe to use. Why are you losing your temper at her? I scoffed. Alistair Vance couldn't possibly be unaware of the throw blanket's significance to me. Yet now, he was brazenly using it as a foot mat for Chloe Davis. I took the items from the drawer and, carrying the throw blanket, prepared to leave. As I walked out, I warned them one last time. I advise you two to move out of here within 3 days. I've already listed it for sale. Don't let yourselves be evicted and make a spectacle. Alistair Vance grabbed me. How long are you going to keep throwing tantrums? I rolled my eyes at him, shook him off, and walked out. Unexpectedly, a mom and later, Chloe Davis ran out, her face streaked with tears, pulling at me. Sarah, it's all my fault. Please don't kick Alistair and me out. I'll go have the baby aborted right now. Please don't be angry. I looked at her, bewildered. What are you doing? Let go of me, or I'll call the police. Chloe Davis continued to cry and beg, eventually collapsing backward onto the ground. I was still stunned, looking at Chloe Davis sitting on the ground. Her lower body was now stained with blood. I froze in place. Alistair Vance rushed out at that moment. He slapped me across the face, with such force that I fell hard to the ground. Blood at the corner of my mouth and a temporary ringing in my ears left me disoriented. Alistair Vance picked up Chloe Davis, and at the same time, kicked me. I can't believe you're such a vicious person. If anything happens to Chloe or the baby, I'm not done with you. After they had left, I lay on the ground for a long time, unable to get up. Suddenly, a familiar voice reached my ears. Ethan Hayes urgently picked me up. Sarah, what happened? Did that beast do this to you? My eyelids were so swollen I couldn't open my eyes. In my dazed state, I only felt a tear from Ethan Hayes drop onto my neck. This was unbelievable to me. The usually proud Ethan Hayes was actually shedding tears because of me. When I woke up again, I was already at the hospital. Ethan Hayes sat beside me, looking worried. Seeing me open my eyes, he immediately leaned in. Does it still hurt? I shook my head. He then said angrily, damn it, how dare he hit my wife? Sarah, just say the word, and I'll ruin both of them. I was startled by him calling me his wife, then remembered that we had gotten married. I pulled his hand. No, it's fine. I don't plan on seeking revenge. I don't want any more involvement with him. The honeymoon you mentioned last time, let's leave as soon as I'm discharged. Ethan Hayes' eyes darkened. Okay, whatever you say. These past few days, Alista Ir Vance had been constantly calling, threatening me and accusing me of killing Chloe Davis's baby. I blocked all his contact information. Until the very last day before I was to be discharged, Alistair Vance suddenly burst into the hospital room. So you've been hiding here, pretending to be sick? Do you think pretending to be sick will make me forgive you for killing my child? I closed my eyes in annoyance. Alistair Vance, I'm telling you again, I didn't push her, and we're over. Please stop bothering me. Alistair Vance angrily gripped my chin. Do you think a simple breakup can absolve you of your guilt? The pain in my chin made my tears flow uncontrollably. Just then, Alistair Vance's mother walked in. Alistair, what are you doing? Seeing Eleanor Vance enter, Alistair Vance released his grip. Alistair Vance looked surprised. Mom, why are you here? Eleanor Vance looked at me, then at Alistair Vance. Why am I here? It's because you two are giving me no peace of mind. I heard you're not getting married anymore and are fighting about breaking up. I didn't speak, and Alistair Vance just lowered his head. Eleanor Vance then walked over to me and lectured me. Sarah, you, too. You're just a woman. Do you really need to make such a big fuss? Which man doesn't cheat? Don't be so overly proud. I laughed, exasperated. So you think so little of me? Eleanor Vance gave me a disdainful look. Sarah, don't be ungrateful. If I hadn't taken pity on you for pursuing Alistair for 3 years, I wouldn't have agreed to this marriage so easily. Our family is an artistic dynasty, and Alistair is a great artist. Theoretically, we wouldn't look down on families like yours who made their fortune through business. You're marrying up, so since you know that, you should cherish this marriage even more and learn to be more magnanimous. I gave 2 cold laughs and took Alistair Vance's art book from my bag. I flipped to the clearest and most shocking page and shoved it in there. Faces. This is the artwork your great artist son produces? Your son is so noble, yet he still relied on me to hold an art exhibition. I think I should hold an exhibition with these paintings. It would surely draw a huge crowd, enough to recoup my investment. Eleanor Vance's old face flushed red as she saw the painting, and she turned to glare at Alistair Vance. Alistair Vance first looked embarrassed, then angrily demanded, who gave you permission to touch my things? Your things? What belonging of yours isn't mine, from top to bottom? Without the Knights, the Vances would be sleeping under a bridge by now. Please face reality, okay? What's with this pretense of nobility? Before I could finish, Chloe Davis stumbled in. She knelt beside Eleanor Vance and Alistair Vance, her face full of grievance. Alistair, don't blame Sarah. It's my fault for not protecting the baby. As she entered, she also drew the attention of the onlookers outside, who craned their necks to see. Eleanor Vance was somewhat shocked. Baby? You two have a baby? Alistair Vance helped Chloe Davis up, saying, Chloe is pregnant with my child. I wanted to postpone the wedding, but Seraphina Knight disagreed and constantly picked on Chloe. This time, Chloe's miscarriage was caused by her pushing her. Eleanor Vance was utterly enraged, pointing her finger at my nose and scolding, you, the one who threw herself at him, not only can't tolerate another woman but now you even harm a child. This is the Vances bloodline, do you know how precious it is? Chloe Davis cried even louder, reveling in the attention, causing the people outside to speculate. Such a dramatic plot? Being a mistress is shameful, but you shouldn't resort to murder. Exactly, exactly. She's becoming a murderer. And that young girl doesn't look like the type to be a mistress, she was probably tricked. The main woman doesn't look like someone to mess with either. And just like that, I became a murderer. At that moment, Ethan Hayes arrived, holding a report. He walked disdainfully towards Alistair Vance and his mother. Child? What child? Are you talking about her polycystic ovarian syndrome? Alistair Vance looked at him, completely confused. Who are you? What nonsense are you spouting? Ethan Hayes immediately explained his identity. First, let me introduce myself. I am Seraphina Knight's husband. And this, you can see for yourself. Ethan Hayes placed the document in front of Alistair Vance. Alistair Vance first looked at me in disbelief, then picked up the document to examine it. Chloe Davis, however, looked panicked and immediately stood up, trying to snatch the document from Alistair Vance's hand. Alistair, don't listen to their nonsense. They're definitely putting on an act. How could I possibly lie about being pregnant? Alistair Vance dodged her and continued looking at the document, which indeed showed pregnancy. Doesn't this say pregnant? Ethan Hayes looked disgusted. Can't you tell it's photoshopped? Are you that blind? You can't even tell the difference between polycystic ovarian syndrome and pregnancy. He then turned to Chloe Davis and said, next time, remember to edit the picture better, because not everyone is as foolish and easily fooled as him. Eleanor Vance snatched the report. You little conniver, you tricked me? Chloe Davis shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, how could I possibly lie about having a baby? If I wasn't pregnant, how could I have had a miscarriage? Alistair Vance seemed to see a glimmer of hope. That's right, how could she miscarry if she wasn't pregnant? I think you're the real liar here. Ethan Hayes chuckled and then pulled out a video. Open your eyes and see how your woman deceived you. The video was from my house's doorstep. On that day, I had stormed out, and Chloe Davis had chased after me, but she paused at the door for a moment. She took a blood packet from her hand and tucked it into her pants before continuing to chase me. The people nearby began to gossip about Chloe Davis again. We really misjudged her. She's young but full of schemes. After the video finished, Alistair Vance turned to Chloe Davis, looking astonished. You played me? Chloe Davis clutched Alistair Vance's sleeve. Alistair, I'm sorry. I just loved you too much. Even if we don't have a baby now, we'll have one in the future. Alistair Vance furiously kicked her to the ground. I, Alistair Vance, hate nothing more than being lied to. How dare you try to trick me like this? Eleanor Vance, realizing the situation, began to take charge. Since this woman wasn't pregnant at all, Sarah, there's even less reason for you to hold a grudge. Let's speed up your wedding. I looked at her, bewildered. Wedding? I already told him we broke up, didn't I? What wedding? Besides, I'm already married. Eleanor Vance paused, then quickly put on a conciliatory smile. Sarah, don't be angry. Everything's cleared up now, isn't it? Where would you get married in such a short time? How about this, I'll have Alistair apologize to you. Alistair Vance still looked disdainful. Mom, what are you saying? Why would I need to apologize? She'll be back in a few days anyway. Everyone in our circle knows she chased after me for 3 years. Who else would want her besides me? Then he looked Ethan Hayes up and down. This guy clearly looks like an actor she hired. Before I could speak, Ethan Hayes pulled out the marriage certificate. Open your eyes and see clearly. Also, tomorrow is my wife's and my honeymoon. I hope you two don't bother her during this time. Seeing the marriage certificate, Alistair Vance completely lost his composure. You're really married? Sarah, is what he's saying true? I looked at him, exasperated. I told you, I'm not that desperate for you. Alistair Vance was almost laughing with anger. We had 8 years of history together, and now you're just showing a marriage certificate and saying it's over? Oh, you remember we had 8 years of history? 8 years, and you just threw a pregnancy test result at me, informing me I'd become a stepmom overnight? Alistair Vance, is this the kind of thing your artistic dynasty does? Alistair Vance was so thoroughly rebuked by me that he couldn't speak. Chloe Davis, who had been kneeling on the ground, had a sudden idea. She stood up and accused me. Alistair, she must have been involved with this man while you two were still together. Otherwise, she couldn't have gotten married to him so quickly. Alistair Vance found this very plausible. That's right, were you already hooking up with that guy? Eleanor Vance seized the opportunity to add fuel to the fire. Definitely. How else could she get married so fast? Now she's pretending to be the victim. Anyone who didn't know would actually think she suffered some great injustice. Then she yelled at the onlookers, everyone, come see. This woman was unfaithful first, and now she's accusing my son. She hadn't even broken up with my son yet, and she's already gone and gotten married to another man. Their behavior made me laugh. Seeing Ethan Hayes about to get physical, I quickly stopped him. When it comes to shamelessness, the Vances take the cake. You're really good at turning the tables and accusing me. You, Alistair Vance, were the one who cheated, and now this woman is standing here slandering me, and you're just spouting nonsense about me cheating. All these years, if it weren't for my family, and your art exhibition would have starved. You don't actually think anyone would pay for your so-called works of art, do you? Laughter erupted from outside. Talking about throwing herself at him, turns out he relies entirely on the woman. If you know you're living off her family, you should behave yourself and not mess around with affairs. Eleanor Vance and Alistair Vance looked embarrassed and wanted to retort but couldn't find the words. Soon, the crowd outside was dispersed by a nurse. I sighed. I don't want to say anything more. The Knights won't be foolish enough to invest in the Vances anymore. As for your gallery, I won't contribute a single penny. Chloe Davis, however, defended Alistair Vance. Humph, do you think an artist like Alistair would care about your filthy money? Alistair can buy several galleries just by painting a few pictures. I laughed out loud. Really? Alistair Vance panicked, pulling Chloe Davis aside. What are you rambling about? You're the one who's been constantly stirring up trouble between Sarah and me. Sarah, don't listen to her nonsense. Then he turned and roared at Chloe Davis, now get lost. Chloe Davis was startled by his shout and walked away, her face full of indignation. Sarah, don't be impulsive. Can we both just calm down now? Eleanor Vance also started to get anxious. That's right, Sarah. What couple doesn't argue? You're acting completely on impulse right now. This isn't impulse. This is me finally seeing things clearly. Now, I don't want to see either of you again. I turned and took Ethan Hayes' hand. Let's go. After returning, I decisively withdrew all investment from the Vances projects. Arthur Vance was furious. Why did you two have to provoke her? You idiot, going around with other women. If you don't go and beg Sarah for forgiveness now, don't bother coming back to the Vances. Eleanor Vance also received a harsh scolding. You old woman, can't you go a day without causing trouble? Don't you know who the Vances have relied on all these years? I think this family will collapse in your and your son's hands sooner or later. The more he spoke, the harder Eleanor Vance cried, and Arthur Vance actually fainted from anger. Knowing his art exhibition couldn't proceed, Alistair Vance came running to me, kneeling and begging for my forgiveness. Sarah, you know this art exhibition is incredibly important to me. I know you don't want to see me right now, but please, will you help me see this exhibition through? I've completely broken up with Chloe Davis, and I won't have a change of heart again. Alistair Vance spoke while slapping himself to show sincerity, but I had lost my patience. Whether you break up with her or not has nothing to do with me. What does your art exhibition have to do with me? I'm not running a charity for your exhibition. Besides, given your paintings, I don't think an exhibition is necessary. Alistair Vance remained kneeling by my leg, pulling at my clothes. Sarah, one last time, please? This exhibition is truly important to me. As long as you agree, I promise I will never disturb your happy life again. I didn't speak, looking down and thinking for a moment. Fine, this is the last time. Alistair Vance excitedly stood up and hugged me. I knew you still had feelings for me, Sarah. You definitely still can't let go of me. I was disgusted by the hug but couldn't break free. Just then, Ethan Hayes punched him, knocking him to the ground. Who told you to bother Sarah again? Do you want me to send you to the police station? Alistair Vance, on the ground, first touched the corner of his mouth, then glared fiercely at Ethan Hayes. Then he stood up and said to me with a smile, Sarah, you promised, don't back out. Don't forget. He spoke as he ran backward. Ethan Hayes was so angry he wanted to chase after him, but I pulled him back. Don't bother. He's not worth your effort. Ethan Hayes asked grumpily, Sarah, do you really still have feelings for him? And you're even holding this art exhibition for him? I gave a slight smirk. I'm no philanthropist. I'm just making him realize his true artistic level. The next day, Alistair Vance's art exhibition opened as he wished. However, all the attendees were people who had previously wanted to curry favor with the Knights. Before, they would flatter Alistair Vance out of deference to me. At that moment, they still didn't know that Alistair Vance and I had broken up. No one at the exhibition cared about Alistair Vance's paintings. They just caught him and asked about my whereabouts. This greatly displeased Alistair Vance. It wasn't until he saw a large crowd gathered in front of a painting in the main hall that Alistair Vance, looking arrogant, walked forward. It seems everyone really likes this painting. Allow me to explain it to you. But when Alistair Vance saw clearly, he was stunned in shock. The paintings in the main hall were ones I had specially added. They were all from that art book. I had even specifically chosen some of the most captivating ones. Unexpectedly, these few paintings had the most admirers in the entire exhibition. A few people nearby couldn't help but laugh after seeing them. Mr. Vance has changed careers? Is he starting to paint in this style now? My knowledge is limited. I didn't know this kind of painting could even hold an art exhibition. Alastair Vance was speechless, standing there in humiliation and anger. Just then, Chloe Davis ran in. She walked to Alastair Vance, crying, "Alastair, please don't abandon me. I didn't mean to trick you. If you don't want me, I have nowhere else to go. I can't live without you." The people who had just been admiring the paintings began to watch the drama unfold. Isn't that the person from the painting? So, they're drawn from real life. And since they're so vivid, there must be a real-life model. It seems the model and the artist are quite inseparable. Alastair Vance was humiliated and furious, taking all his anger out on Chloe Davis. "Didn't I tell you to stop bothering me? Haven't you caused me enough trouble already?" Chloe Davis shook her head, wronged. "No, how could I harm you? I have nowhere else to go, Alastair. I've been with you for so many years, how can you be so heartless?" Alastair Vance roared, "Get lost. Go pick up trash and sleep on the streets for all I care, it has nothing to do with me." At this point, the people nearby understood. So she's the mistress. It looks like Ms. Knight knew and deliberately set this up. If we had known you broke up with Ms. Knight, who would have traveled all this way to see your terrible paintings? You've wasted our time. Alastair Vance stopped them. "Gentlemen, won't you take another look? If you don't like the portraits, there are landscape paintings I did earlier inside." Those people couldn't stand it anymore. "Your skill level is only good enough to teach children at the community art center. Do you really think we came here every time just to see your paintings? Without the Knights, you wouldn't even be able to put on this exhibition." These words struck Alastair Vance to the core, and he looked at them with a distorted, furious expression. Those people, feeling it was pointless, left. An hour before Ethan Hayes and I were set to leave the country, Alastair Vance ran up like a madman. "Sarah, do you really hate me that much?" I sighed helplessly. "I don't hate you. I just want you to realize your true self sooner. Is there really no possibility for us anymore? Just because of this Chloe Davis incident?" I looked at him in shock. "What? Wasn't the Chloe Davis incident enough? What else do you plan to do?" "I'm sorry, I can't handle anything else." Just then, Ethan Hayes returned after checking our luggage. Seeing Alastair Vance, he frowned deeply and pulled me into his embrace. "Mr. Vance, I've told you more than once not to harass my wife. What's the meaning of chasing her all the way to the airport now? Still trying to win her back? Where were you before? You didn't cherish what you had, and now you're pretending to be deeply in love." Alastair Vance, knowing he was in the wrong, remained silent. Ethan Hayes then said coldly, "I don't mind telling you, I'm taking Sarah to Switzerland. She loves the snow there the most." At this point, I noticed a change in Alastair Vance's expression. Because a long time ago, I had suggested to him that we go to Switzerland to see the snow, but he always said he was busy and refused me. Then, he used the excuse of sketching and took Chloe Davis to Switzerland, staying for half a month. Seeing Alastair Vance about to say something else, I interrupted him directly. "Alastair Vance, I neither hate you nor resent you anymore. Please let me go too. Let's both live our own lives well." Finally, Alastair Vance said nothing more, just lowered his head. And I followed Ethan Hayes to Switzerland, embarking on our honeymoon. Upon reaching our destination, snowflakes were already falling outside. Ethan Hayes carefully wrapped a scarf around my neck, his fingertips brushing my earlobe unintentionally. "Cold?" I shook my head, but he naturally pulled me into his embrace. His scent filled my nostrils, making me feel incredibly safe. "We'll go to the hotel first, then the snowy mountains tomorrow." He effortlessly took my luggage. The next day, Ethan Hayes drove me along the winding mountain roads. As I was dozing off, he stroked my head. "Sarah, look outside." I looked up out the window. Amidst the snow-covered pine forest, there was a cabin, just like something out of a fairy tale. The cabin's doorframe was entirely adorned with woven flower clusters, so beautiful it made me stare in a daze. "This is the forest cabin you wished to live in on your 18th birthday." Ethan Hayes stopped the car, his gaze gently fixed on me. "You said back then that you wanted to live here with the person you loved most, during Christmas." Memories flooded back. On that birthday party, I had gotten terribly drunk and babbled nonsense in Ethan Hayes's arms. He just quietly smiled and watched me, and then I even threw up all over him. "You actually remember?" My voice was choked, and my eyes were a little misty. He reached out and pinched my cheek. I remember everything about you. Then he took me out of the car to admire the cabin up close. As I was carefully looking around, he quietly placed a veil in my hair. Before I could react, he was already on one knee. Sarah, I know part of the reason you married me was out of spite, but I'm still very happy. Even though we had a whirlwind marriage, I'll still give you all the proper gestures. With that, he held out a ring in front of me. Miss Seraphina Knight, will you officially become my Mrs. Hayes? I was both moved and surprised, and tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I nodded yes while reaching out my hand. After the ring was on, Ethan Hayes stood up and excitedly pulled me into a hug. After the honeymoon, we'll go back and have our wedding ceremony. That night, Ethan Hayes gave me an art book filled with photos of me from various stages of my life. Some of the photos were even clipped from the school newspaper. Next to each photo, there was a chibi version of him drawn. I was both annoyed and amused as I playfully squeezed his neck. Ethan Hayes, when did you cut these out? They're hideous. Ethan Hayes held my hand and looked at me seriously. Now, you must believe that I fell in love with you before Alistair Vance did. After the trip, Ethan Hayes and I returned to the country to prepare for our wedding. At the wedding, I vaguely saw a familiar figure and instinctively searched for him. It was Alistair Vance. After a month, he looked much more disheveled. After I left, I heard that the Vances had completely collapsed without funding. Because of their haughty arrogance, they had already offended all the influential families in the circle, and after their downfall this time, they were kicked while they were down. But that no longer mattered to me. I didn't spare him another glance. More than reminiscing about the past, I looked forward to our life ahead.